What's up, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Olamide, where we talk about all things real estate. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is how do you buy an investment property with no money down? We're going to talk about one of my favorite strategies, which is called owner financing. If you do owner financing in a certain way, you can position yourself, you can structure a deal in order to buy a property with no money down. And so let's talk about it. And make sure you watch this video all the way to the end, because at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about another way for you to get into real estate with no money. You don't actually buy the property, but you're able to make money with no money down. So we'll talk about that as well. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Olamide. I am a real estate investor as well as a licensed realtor and also a licensed loan originator. I have been investing since 2019 and I love owner financing. It is my favorite strategy. So let's quickly take a step back. A lot of people think it is impossible for people to buy properties with no money. But let me tell you, the only reason they think that is because they haven't done it themselves, or they haven't watched this video and they haven't been exposed to creative strategies that actually allow you to buy properties with no money down. So what I want to do today is just jump right into what it means and how you can structure a deal in order to buy properties with no money down. So you can do this through something called owner financing, and I'm going to explain to you what that means. Owner financing, also known as seller financing, is essentially when a seller or an owner of a property finances the sale of the property to the buyer. So I always like to bring in numbers. So let's go ahead and talk numbers for a second. Let's just say let's call this person Lucy. Lucy owns a property. She owns it free and clear, and free and clear means that there is no mortgage on the property. She owns this property, and this property's market value, so the amount that the property will sell for, is $100,000. We're good here? So now on the other end, Samantha wants to come and buy the property. Samantha comes and she says, "Hey Lucy, I want to buy your $100,000 property." And then Lucy's like, "Okay, well, I want to sell it." And so Samantha then asks Lucy a very, very, very important question. She asks Lucy, "Hey, do you need that $100,000 up front, or are you willing to get payments over time?" The reason why that is a very unique question, how many of you that own a property, let's just say that you own a property, you own a primary residence. This is actually the property that you live in. And even let's just say you own an investment property. Did you ask that question when you bought your property? Or did you just assume that you would need to pay all of the money up front? The key to being a creative real estate investor is to ask those types of questions like the one that I just asked. And so, for example, let's get back to Lucy. If Lucy says, "Hey, actually, I don't really need the cash right now. I just want to get rid of the property. I have another property that I'm actually going to move into," or maybe Lucy's going to go move into a house with one of her kids. Maybe Lucy just got married and is moving in with a new spouse. And for whatever reason, Lucy doesn't need all of the cash up front. So she says, "Actually, I don't need all of the cash up front. I am okay with getting payments over time." At that point, Samantha can come and negotiate the terms. So what does that mean? Samantha can come to Lucy and say, "Hey, okay, well, if you don't need all the payment over time, can I do a 30-year loan, maybe paying $500 a month at whatever interest rate?" And if that works for both of them, then maybe she says yes, maybe she says no, maybe she says, "Well, no, I don't want 500, maybe I want 1,000. The list can go on and on. Or maybe I don't want 30 years, maybe I want 15 years. Whatever it is, Lucy and Samantha come together and they figure out what terms work best for them. But ultimately, there could be a situation whereby there is no down payment needed. And really, the owner or the seller is willing to finance the property without a down payment. Now, some people may be asking, well, why would someone want to do that? There are a lot of reasons why, and I'll give you a couple. One, a lot of times, if the seller wants to do this, they can charge interest. Let's say the seller says, you can pay me over 30 years, but I want a 6% interest rate, or I want a 5% interest rate. I want a 7% interest rate, whatever interest rate. So instead of the owner getting the $100,000 and putting it in a bank account, wouldn't it make more sense to get the payments over time and be earning interest on that payment over time on their $100,000? When you think about it, how much interest does your cash get in the bank account? Like y'all can be telling me, speak out loud to your video, speak out loud to your phone as you're watching this video. Tell me, how much money is your money making in your savings account? I'll wait. It's probably less than 1%. So if you have an opportunity to say, okay, well, instead of making less than 1%, if I put it in a savings account, I can make 5, 6, 7, whatever that percent is. Another reason why sellers prefer to use this method and get payments over time is that, for example, in Texas, anytime someone allows someone to seller finance or owner finance a property from them, then they put a deed of trust on the property, similar to Bank of America. So if a bank gave you a mortgage for your property, if you don't pay for it and there's no forbearance protections, then what can the bank do? The bank can foreclose, right? The bank can take their property back. Well, as a homeowner, if you then become your own bank and you allow payments over time, you protect yourself by putting a deed of trust on the property, so that if for some reason the other party doesn't pay their money on time, you can foreclose and get your property back. Of course, you hope that you never have to foreclose on someone, but it's also good to know that if you give someone the benefit of the doubt and you allow them to pay you over time, it's good to know that you have that ability to be able to foreclose if they don't commit and actually make the payments that they promise. So this is a way that you can buy properties with no money down. Now, I mentioned that I was going to talk about one other option in a way to get into real estate without any money, and this is called wholesaling. Essentially what wholesaling is when you essentially get a property under contract. So you go out, you find someone that, for example, wants to sell their property. You get it under contract, meaning you make an agreement, you set terms and say, hey, you have this $100,000 property. I want to buy it for, let's just say $70,000. I'm just throwing numbers out there. If for some reason they say yes, that they'll sell it, then you can put the property under contract, which essentially means you draw up an agreement to buy the property. And what you can actually do is then sell that contract or assign that contract to an investor, and they would pay you money. How wholesaling works is you don't need cash. All you need to do is to find someone that is willing to sell their property at a discounted price. Once you find someone that is willing to sell their property at a discounted price, you come up with terms, meaning that you say, here's what I'm going to buy it for. They agree. So you come up with terms and you write out a contract. Then what you do is you sell your option to buy that property through that contract to an investor. You bring that contract to an investor and say, hey, I'm going to sell you my right to buy this property. And then the investor pays you for finding a good deal, getting the property under contract, and then giving that property to the investor. And so that is a way to get into the real estate investing world without having any cash and also without actually having to buy the property. So I hope you learned something new today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. There's a link in the description that will let you know exactly how to reach out if you want to. So take care, have a great day, God bless, and I'll see you soon.